Tonight, we have a guest like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood when he went to the post office and he taught you about the post office. I have Shiv here, right now. What do you got, kid?
Howdy.
I hope you don't drive your car like that.
I do.
So this is Shiv. This is Open Flash Performance Genius. No, you really did make my bike better. For ways that I wasn't expecting. Like normally, if somebody's gonna tune your bike, it's gonna be higher top speed, more horsepower, all this stuff. That's not what happened.
No.
That's not what happened. I kind of thought it would happen, really, to tell you the truth. I was like, what's up? And I looked at my data. So we're gonna get into all that stuff. We're gonna talk to Shiv. I'm gonna break his shoes about what he did, why he did it, and what he didn't do, and why he didn't do it. So I'm Gogo for superduke.com, and let's get into this. Okay, the first thing I wanna ask is the most direct question. My bike didn't have 1 mile per hour more top speed
Yes.
on the front straight in any of the races. 149 miles an hour with your tune, 149 miles an hour without your tune.
Yes.
Why did you do that? Because I feel like you could have gotten more out of it.
Yes.
Why did you not do that?
As our first attempt to optimize your bike, the first, we want to take baby steps. We wanted to fix the problems that stock ECU tune has. Even the Akrapovic tune has limitations, has compromises. We wanted to fix all that, get all the rideability stuff correct before we start leaning on the engine. By leaning, I mean making the tune more aggressive for more power.
What do you mean rideability?
Partial throttle, you remember the stuff you talked about? Yeah, where the Akrapovic tune felt like the power would lag the throttle. There was a...
Yeah, if you didn't watch the first video, if I would break... We're talking about racetrack use, not so much the street. But they two are kind of related, right? I'm sure
you're the extreme version of...
But I'm sure people that experience the same thing on the track, right? Sometimes when you're full throttle and you crack off, bang, bang, you hit a couple of gears and you tip into a turn and then you go to crack the throttle back on to bring the motor back into like positive state. It would just die for a second. And then it would jump back. And I hated that.
The other thing you mentioned was the throttle pickup when you're leaned over, when you're getting back on the throttle. That sudden, non-linear jerk of torque, which would
Isn't that what I
upset.
just said?
Well, there's two things.
There's two things.
There was a laggy throttle and
the
the
dead
sudden pickup.
spot.
Yeah.
But then, I wanted. It's funny because a lot of people talk about getting a quarter turn throttle because they can accelerate quicker and it feels faster, right? As long as you're straight up and down.
That's a tuner trick.
But if you're exactly. Yeah. But if you're at full lean, I don't want my throttle to be so aggressive like that. I actually want the throttle to be less. I want it to be able to spin more and have it be like less sensitive. And then as the bike comes up, then I'd like it to ramp up.
Funny thing is, you were telling me this a year ago about that initial tip-in torque, and I said I could fix it, and
I didn't believe you.
didn't believe me. Yeah.
I don't want to risk all the other stuff.
I understand that. You've had bad experiences.
Problem.
We're going to fix that.
I already acknowledged I had a problem.
All right.
So now, why didn't you make it faster?
First things first, extra power is useless until we fix all the problems that you wanted to address.
I get that. Next.
Okay. Number two, making more power means tuning the engine more aggressively. Now, these bikes don't have knock sensors. It's not like what typical tuners can do, where they send a bike out and they log knock retard. They can log through the...
Before you get into retarded things,
Okay, knock.
What is knock?
Okay. Before I get into retard, that's not politically correct.
But I mean, you said it, not me. Don't go into this mile-long diatribe.
Okay. All right.
Whoa.
What is knock? Okay. Knock is, you can Google it. But knock is pre-detonation. Knock is when the air-fuel charge, by charge meaning the mixture, inside the piston gets too hot due to compression. When it gets too hot, it can pre-ignite before the spark plug does its job of starting the combustion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so gas is what I said when I did my little thing is gas is volatile, right?
Yeah.
And the more hot.
You mean gasoline?
Gas.
Yeah. Gas is the state of matter. But anyway. Okay.
gasoline is volatile, right? So the hotter it is, the more it becomes, the more like potential to explode.
Yeah.
For the people
And explode is the right term because it does explode. It doesn't burn. A detonation is a sudden, uncontrolled explosion, uncontrolled burn, basically an explosion.
Oh, wait a minute. This is interesting because you said something before about pre-burn and burn, where you were describing the flame or pre-flame.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Said.
So if you were to look, if a cylinder was clear, see-through, made of plexiglass, and you saw a piston move up and down, and you saw that the explosion, everyone thinks it's a big bang, and the piston pushes the piston down. It's not.
That's the way I thought about it.
Yeah, that's what children think. It is a controlled burn.
It makes me feel younger.
This is good.
Thank you. I appreciate
we talked
that.
about it. You're welcome, man. Anytime. It is a controlled burn. You have the pistons going up, and that air fuel gets smaller, gets more compressed, gets heat, gets hot. Spark plug goes tank, and all of a sudden, like that.
So you want, instead of an explosion, which would be like one bang, you want a slow burn to push the piston all the way down.
Correct. You have an air fuel mixture which is homogenized. Homogenized means
I know what homogenized. I buy milk all the time.
Well, what does it mean?
No idea, but I see it on the bottle.
Homogenized means that the air and fuel is homogenized, meaning that it's mixed evenly throughout the entire volume of the space. In other words, you take any portion of that air fuel mixture and it all looks the same. And that's important. That's why you have things like tumble and swirl generators to make that air kind of swirl around as it enters. That helps mix the fuel. Okay? So when you have that nice homogenized mixture, am I going a little bit too much?
Tumble and swirl generator?
Fuck it, whatever. What?
Well, there's in the KTM, there's a tumble and swirl generator?
Well, the shape of the intake valve and the port that goes into is designed in a way to generate swirls and tumbles.
Also, you have not one explosion, but more like a gradual homogenized burn.
No,
Throughout the
air fuel charge is homogenized. The burn is controlled.
Okay, so
yes. So let's do it. Let's look at it this way. If we plot it out, I know maybe I'm getting too technical here, but if we plot out pressure versus time, a controlled combustion, it goes nice bell curve, right?
So it's got a lot of pressure over a longer period of time.
Yeah, and maximum pressure's up here, and then it kind of decays on both ends, but it's nice and smooth. If you look at detonation, when detonation
like
occurs,
bam, like that.
exactly, and not only it doesn't go up here, it goes way up here.
Really?
Yeah, it's order of magnitude more peak pressure.
So when fuel and oxygen knocks, pre-detonates, it's sharper?
Much sharper and much higher amplitude too,
Because the whole thing just explodes.
Yeah, it's a very, very
See,
sharp
this is
explosion.
educational.
Yeah.
This is Mr. Rogers' name.
Okay, if you look at
Right
this way,
at the post office.
and this might present more context. Turbo engine. Why can an engine run 30 pounds of boost and not explode? Because even though it's a lot of pressure, the burn is still a nice controlled burn. But one detonation, bam, is enough to blow it up. It's very hard to blow up an engine through power, because power generally is created by nice smooth combustion.
More power.
Yeah, like you can double up horsepower and shit, and it doesn't break. But if you get one bad knock,
Boom.
your piston flies out the case.
I never knew that. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't push my tune.
Right.
Because you were afraid of knock.
I wasn't really afraid of it because
You sounded scared to me.
yeah, I in the racing environment you're in, I just don't have enough data. I do track days, I do this and that, but again, you ride a lot harder than I do.
So it's when you say my data, red line, run there. Not just for one turn or for one lap, but it's lap after lap after lap, hotter and hotter and hotter. Sometimes in the summer, 105, 110 degrees, and it's still like this.
Yeah.
Terrible environment.
In those conditions, I wanted to make sure that in case you generate more heat than you dissipate, so in other words, during the course of the race, your average engine temp gets higher, your cylinder wall temp, your piston temps get higher and higher and higher and
Which
higher.
will have more of a tendency to knock.
Yes.
And you have
Yes.
no idea because the KTM has no knock sensor.
Bingo. Yes.
BMW does, Aprilia does.
Ducatis do. I don't know if Aprilia doesn't. Ducatis do. BMWs do.
Aprilia does not. Italians.
And it's and a lot of the truth is, without opening the door too much in the tuner world, the tuners a lot of tuners can get away with murder on certain platforms because they rely on active knock control systems.
It's bailing them out.
Yeah, it's bailing them out, and it makes them look like great tuners. Done, right?
I'm thinking about becoming a tuner.
Yeah, you can if you want to start tuning BMWs and Ducatis. You can't really blow those things up too well. Easily.
Okay, so we understand with knock.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
It was educational. I just learned something tonight I did not know before. Mr. Rogers' rules.
Yep.
So you chose purposefully to not try to give me more top speed because you were respecting the dangers and the unknown.
Well, the truth is you're already so fast and you already win all the time. You don't want to edit that out. You don't want to edit that out. You don't want to edit that out. That's good, right? So we didn't need to give you 15 more horsepower.
That is such bullshit.
Yet.
Okay, so you made the throttle. You made the dead spot go away. Yeah. Amazing. You I didn't know you manipulated did you make it softer in the beginning of the turn?
That's the thing. I never even touched actual throttle tables.
Yeah, I didn't.
All that's done through proper fuel control. Yeah, everyone always.
But can you do that?
Yeah, if I wanted to. But
so you can dial more throttle in as I go, past quarter.
Yeah, I can make it so there's less physical throttle opening during the first.
Yeah. First 25%.
So what I did instead is I actually played with ignition timing during pickup. During
pickup. What do you do in pickup?
When you're leaned over, getting on the throttle pickup, I made it so it softens that initial torque output, because with ignition timing is a very fast, reactive way to make active torque changes. Whereas the throttle, because it's electric, it's electronic. It's not like you've got a stepper motor moving a valve. It's just instantaneous, right? It's controlled by a computer running in megahertz, not by a stepper motor that can only move open and close so fast. So that's a quicker, more direct way to mitigate to mitigate torque output. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it was so nice to control.
Yeah.
I could get the jump like I never could get before.
Yeah.
Out of a turn, driving, spinning it was exhilarating. It was more fun to ride. Even if I wasn't in a race, just doing a track day, it would have been more enjoyable.
And a lot of that stuff came from what I experimented with my bike on the road. Again, the road requirements are very different. I didn't soften up that torque pickup like I did for you, because on the road you really don't need to. You're not riding that aggressively. But I figured out those relationships beforehand, so that when it came to you, I can apply them to the way you liked it, right? As far as why we didn't make more power, because that comes after we get all the control stuff sorted out.
Which I think we're pretty.
Yeah.
We've made progress a lot in a very little bit of time.
Yes, one testing day. That's it.
You changed the way the bike shifts gears. That was huge, because I don't even think you realized it. You'd probably say you realize it now, but...
No, I feel it on the street, but I knew if I felt it on the street, riding straight up and down, going to Starbucks, you would really feel it, leaned over, dragging elbow, and doing all that stuff.
You could see it in my data. It was obvious.
Yeah.
And I could feel it. Even I couldn't see it in my data. I could feel it. Oh, the bike was so much calmer.
Yeah. It's not about cutting. It's not about reducing ignition cut times. There's other shit.
Oh, so I described it wrong?
Yeah, we didn't change ignition cut times.
What'd you change?
That's some special sauce.
Oh, yeah. So you're not going to share?
No, I will. I changed.
You don't have to share.
I don't mind. I changed the way the ignition dials in and dials out. The ignition retard dials in and dials out.
Again with the retard. See, I'm not doing it. Go ahead.
That, we also changed the way the fuel cut interacts with the quick shifter. We reduced the effect of the fuel cut. We shortened that duration and reduced the cut amount. Generally, there's a fine line between when playing around with fuel cuts for a quick shifter. If you let fuel flow freely, then you can have big bangs and pops, which sound great, but they can also cause problems.
I was surprised that I didn't hear.
You didn't hear any, right?
Because I thought you had done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought you told me you did.
If you
see,
it's more. It's not black
What's
and white.
actually going on
Shades
here?
of gray. I'd made changes, but it wasn't binary on or off. It was still on.
see, you people are shady.
Not shady, but I mean, he didn't know what detonation was 2 weeks ago. How am I going to explain to him about?
I'm not going to ask you questions if you're not going to answer them.
Okay, so what's your question?
I don't have one. I want to say that you made the bike shift better.
Yes.
The chassis was steady.
Good.
Instead of feeling like, ooh, pow, and this, it just felt like, like it was like a step down, but a continuation.
So next step, more power.
I like it. How are you going to do it?
Okay.
This is where I don't feel like I'm so important here. There's somebody, I have to share this. There's somebody behind me going faster around the racetrack this year, very quietly working behind the scenes very diligently. And her name is Angela. She's actually the third baseman on my co-ed softball team.
And a hip hop dancer. Aspiring hip hop dancer.
She's really gifted and really great at analyzing data, like pages of numbers and information and stuff. I just look at it like I have data acquisition and I have the software. And once you start looking at charts and graphs and things and that, honestly, the first question you'll ask yourself when you get a data acquisition, because it is gettable now, it's not that expensive. You're going to look at the computer and go, okay, what do I do now? Like, I see what my shock's doing, but what does that mean? How do I turn this into either A, understanding what's happening out there, or B, how do I turn this data into going faster? And that is not an easy question to answer.
Data lands a lot of people in a lot of trouble. Too much data.
I know people in racing. I know people in racing at levels way above where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And I've asked them, and the answers that I get are pretty vacant. Is that a good word to use?
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
It's not crickets, because you don't hear nothing. Yeah. You do get a response, but it's kind of empty.
I think in the motorcycle racing world, especially, it's surprising how low tech everything is. When you compare it to automotive racing, if you even go to Motor America, I've got a lot of Motor America bikes that I tune for Super Hooligans. And I'm always surprised by how grassroots the teams are. You would think that they would, if you did an analogous automotive race, you have people renting wind tunnels, and you have data, and you have dedicated data guys, and you have engine builders, and you have all these people who come to the track and monitor things and swap engines and do this stuff. You don't. The racer doesn't do the work. The racer just races. So I'm always, the good news is I think there's a lot more to grow out of the motorcycle racing.
I think it's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I am faster these days than I've ever been. And some of the reasons are data. And not just because I have it, but because I have come to begin to understand it. And the person behind me understanding it is like the key, the missing element. Like, there's data, and there's me, and there's no connection, is Angela. She is the connection. And Angela is here tonight. This is Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood times 2. So you and Angela are going to team up to figure out how to get knock sensors on a KTM so that you can get more power and we can break 149 miles an hour. This is cool shit. So Angela, take over my seat.
Angela! Let's do this. Good to see you too.
Let's do it.
Angela, I'm so happy you're on the team.
Me too.
And I'm so happy
you're on the team.
we have someone as so good at data recording as you are and understands. And you understand, despite you never racing, you understand so much. I'm so happy to work with you.
Thanks.
So what we're doing is we are developing a system that allows us to listen for knock on this bike. And by listening to knock, we have 2 little microphones, right?
Yes.
Piezoelectric microphones that mount to the engine, one on the front bank, one on the rear bank, and then feed data to a control box, which we don't have here shown because it's a part of the dyno, which we're going to make portable to put on a bike for racing. That comes later.
And this is because the bike doesn't have its own built-in
Yeah, it doesn't
sensor.
have that. It's
Okay.
KTM is not known for cutting edge electronics.
Fair enough.
Right, unlike Ducati or BMW. They don't make a priority of running an engine at the knock threshold. Because I think they kind of eschewed the whole idea of making maximum power. They want to make torque, right?
Okay.
Whereas all these other superbike manufacturers are always on a fight to one up each other for power, right? And doing so, they have to run these engines at the bleeding edge of knock without knocking, and they use things like knock sensors. So we're taking a page out of their book, and we're going to use it for the KTM.
It's exciting.
Yeah, something that's not been done before, as far as I know.
Totally.
So we're going to listen for knock. Feed it into a little control box that we're going to program to distinguish between normal engine noise and detonation. Now the cool thing is detonation has a very unique sonic signature, right? Detonation occurs generally at a certain frequency of sound, and that frequency is highly dependent on the bore size of the piston.
Okay.
Because that determines the ringing frequency. So these microphones are digitally, the signal is digitally processed to amplify that specific frequency of knock. And then we display it on a little handheld gauge that we mount the Go-Go's, somewhere. Put it here on a visor, right? And then we also feed the data to your data acquisition system.
Yep.
So then we can go back and see, okay, well, where does knock occur? And knock is going to be, the knock signal is going to be transferred to your device with 2 0 through 5 volt analog signals.
Perfect.
Right? And with no knock, it'll probably be baseline noise of maybe like 1 volt. And when knock occurs, bam, 5 volts. Bam, 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 bam. Right? So we want to be able to distinguish between knock and noise. And once we have that sorted out, we can properly feed that into your device. And then we can go back after a race or after a practice session and see, okay, are we knocking?
Yeah.
And we are. Okay, why are we knocking? Okay, we're knocking on this specific RPM in this specific corner. And we go, okay, what are coolant temps? Oh, they're this hot. What are oil temps? This hot. So we can we can try to figure out a correlation between all these things.
Yeah.
And if it is consistently knocking there, we can go in the engine mapping, my side of the business, and retard some timing, add some fuel, do things to make it go away, right?
Yeah.
Right now we're not knocking at all. I'm sure of it because we're running good gas and we're running very conservative timing and fueling because I didn't want to play that game up front until we had this. And I know Gogo was really upset about not saying more power, but I'm like, you know what? Let's keep the engine in one piece.
Good things take time.
And just fix the stuff he hates.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the next step. So I am so excited to work with you on this. So what are your thoughts?
Jeez, that's well. Do we want to talk at all about like what we're going to do with the dyno before we get the bike on the track?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the fun part of all this is we're going to use my dyno to establish the knock establish above what noise level is knock. And we can do that pretty easily by doing runs, and I'm going to incrementally increase ignition timing until we start seeing some aberrant noise. And that noise will start will exceed our regular normal sound floor that we establish. And we can establish that by running it up through the gears with no throttle, because with half throttle,
okay,
where knock's not going to happen, right? So once we establish the baseline noise level of the engine, anything that exceeds that, we can know is knock. If it exceeds in a big way, we know it's big knock. In a little way, it's little knock. And we can monitor both front and rear cylinders, because we're going to probably find out that one cylinder is more knock prone than the other.
That makes sense.
Yes. So and that's why we have not been tuning these things aggressively. All my tunes that we use, we deliver the tunes through my Open Flash tablet. This is a shameless plug. Are make more power than stock, obviously, but it's not my. I can't make my customers, including GoGo, a guinea pig, right? We have to do the work first and then push it out. So once we have that all established and mapped properly, then we feed that data into the device, into your logger, and then we get everything we need to know.
That's perfect. So then we get to compare like the curves between throttle position and gear and RPMs,
Yes.
and we'll be able to know when the knock is occurring.
Exactly.
So like where we need to be careful, and you can just push it. Do we just go incrementally?
Yeah. And the cool thing is, engines are funny things. Generally, the more ignition advance you run, the more torque you pick up to a point.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Then you achieve something called MBT, maximum torque, maximum timing for best torque. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So the relationship between ignition advance and torque is funny. It's like a bell curve.
Yeah.
The more power, the more ignition advance you put in, the more torque you make. Eventually, you keep putting more ignition advance, it flattens out. If you put too much advance in, the power goes down.
Why does that happen?
Because now you are making the spark start too late.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, too early. Sorry,
okay.
too early.
Okay.
Right. So generally, you want maximum expansion at a part where your piston has good leverage to put down.
Okay.
If you're here, look at the angle between like your wrist, your bottom of your rod and your crank. It needs, if it's too sharp, it doesn't work right. It needs to be like that.
Oh, okay. I get
so
it.
like pressing a pedal in a bike,
Of course.
right? If you press the pedal right at the top, it doesn't really give you torque.
Yeah.
You got it. But if you do late, also doesn't give you torque. There's a special sweet spot. So that's where you want to be.
Okay.
Right. So we have got to determine that spot, and there's no book there's no shop manual that tells you where this engine makes best power for any given condition. So we got to figure that out.
Yeah, this is super fun because we collect all this data from the ECU, and then we also have instrumented the bike with like additional controllers,
Amazing.
right? Like, yeah, love
Yes.
it. So not only do we get fork shock information, but also like we check the steering position. So this is exciting. It's like we can just take those analog inputs and assign them to the knock sensors, and I mean, that's what's so fun about this project.
Yes.
I think. Like we just continue to evolve and learn new stuff as we go.
And everything's dynamic. We can jump on change things on the fly until we get things right.
Yeah.
And between the dyno and the track, we can cover all bases. We can use the dyno for what it's designed to do, meaning a controlled environment, learning relationships between different things. And then we can apply the track, and then we can see all the various environments you see in the track, and then try to replicate them on the dyno.
Yeah.
See, as opposed to what a lot of tuners do, they never do any track testing.
Oh.
They tune. They do all the tuning in the dyno. They post these wonderful dyno curves, and they say, "Yay!" and they blow stuff up.
We don't want that.
No.
So I heard you guys talking about like what happens in the summer when the environment is even worse. So do we come back? Do we change it? Do we keep like what happens? Do we do this in the beginning in the spring and then we do it again throughout the summer? What happens?
These bikes, I have temperature compensations for ignition timing.
Cool. Okay.
I have also oil temperature compensations, coolant temperature compensations, and air temperature compensations.
Oh, that's great.
But are those compensations optimized?
Right.
I don't know. I think they're pretty good, but we're going to find out.
Yeah.
And then we can tweak them. That's the beauty of having, as a tuner, the beauty of having someone like Eric and you, and this whole project provides me information that I really couldn't gather myself really easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could risk my neck every day on the road and do all this stuff, but ultimately I'm a tuner. I'm not a racer, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is the perfect combination of skills here.
Okay, so how are we gonna like put these on the bike?
Ooh, all right. So it's almost like KTM wanted us to do this. All right, because they have a bolt hole right here.
Perfect.
On this cylinder. On the 12.9. 13.9 is different. Right here, and the same one on the other side. So these little sensors, little microphones, are gonna go right here, put a bolt through, and that's it. Torque it to correct torque spec, and now it's going to listen for noise conducted through this aluminum.
That's perfect.
Yes, perfect. Yeah. And then we will wrap all this up and wire it up accordingly, keep it out of Eric's hair, and that'll be great. And
what's the rest of this?
All this. Okay, so obviously there's two testing benches here. One is the bike on the track, and the other one is the bike on the dyno. So when we're on the dyno, instead of running this through your data acquisition system, we're gonna run it through my dyno. So I have some other wires, right? Some that connect to my dyno jet that will allow us to view knock noise just like we view air fuel or power or torque.
Yeah.
I can configure on the dyno what 0 to 5 volts mean, and I'll say like no knock, bad knock or really bad knock, right? And then we can log it, and we can know which cylinder is the biggest offender, and we can solve each cylinder individually while making sure both are optimized.
Interesting. I was just going to ask you about that. Like, so it's just controlled separately?
Yeah, if in the ECU map, all the fuel and map fault fueling and the timing and everything is all separated between front cylinder and rear cylinder.
Perfect.
And if you compare the mapping that KTM shows, there's a big difference in front rear cylinder mapping, especially for ignition timing.
Really?
Yeah, and we have not determined. I think I know why, but I want to verify it.
Okay.
And we'll be able to verify it by seeing the effect that ignition timing changes have on knock.
Can you tell me why, you think?
Well, yeah, probably because one receives more air, one receives less air, one runs hotter, one runs cooler. Maybe probably because of how the coolant passages and the oil passages run through the engine. So this is very typical, but now we're going to be able to know beyond a shadow of a doubt.
That's what data's so good for.
Yes. And ultimately, it'll make bikes go fast.
Yes.
Safely. Everyone can make, you can make a bike go fast, but for how long, right? So with GoGo, he does not replace engines very often, thankfully. And we need to make sure it stays that way.
How confident are you that you can have an effect on the 149 mile per hour wall that I seem to hit?
I am so confident that we will make more power with all this stuff. Now I can do my job. I can do the power flow. I can make power now, right?
You should run for politics because you did not answer my question.
Oh, I'm going to. I am so confident we're going to pick up power that I believe we're even going to change gearing. Yeah.
So, what do you think you could do, numbers wise?
I don't know. We're going to find out. Listen, I can do this. A typical tuner would say, I'll pick a 15 horsepower without any
I
data.
didn't ask you horsepower, miles per hour.
Oh, fuck. 20 horsepower. 20 miles an hour. 10 horsepower? 10 miles an hour? I don't know. We're going to find out.
You see why I don't like tuners?
He wants me to lie to him. Okay, 6 miles an hour. No.
2 miles an hour?
I would think so. I would think so.
I'll accept that.
Yeah.
2 miles an hour
Probably
would be
more,
great.
I would think.
See, now we're getting to real numbers because probably more means 154.
Listen, now we have the ability to actually try to maximize power.
That's 5 miles per hour. That'd be huge.
Yeah, we're going to find out.
All right.
Yes.
So now we know a little bit more about open flash performance. Unlike the OFT, open flash tablet, what's the thing with the phone?
Well, that's the control. It's all controlled by a phone app.
This is interesting. You think that he would bring this up?
Oh.
I'm trying to help you.
Okay, so this is what we sell. Should we talk about what we sell?
You should.
Okay, this is what we sell. This is our open flash tablet. This is what I sell to customers who want to tune their bike at home. So we ship this all over the world. Australia, New Zealand, Europe, everywhere. And when they plug it in, they read the ECU, and then automatically my tune files are delivered to them from the cloud into their phone. And then they can flash their bikes.
You can't just throw phone out there. What do you mean?
What? Smartphone. Oh, they download an app.
So you have an app, an open flash performance app?
Yes.
You have an app?
Yes. What?
Okay, so you go to this app, you open it up, and you can see the tune that you're running?
Yeah.
And can you scroll to a different tune?
Yeah. You can pick the tune you want. You can read codes, clear codes. Soon we'll have data
See,
logging.
that's the reason why I let you even touch my ECU, because you promised me that I could say, I don't want your tune, I want my phone.
But did you ever go back?
I don't even know how to open a phone up.
Oh, Jesus.
But it's nice knowing the possibilities there.
And not only that, but this also has, you're going to hear it here first, accelerometer and GPS built in. So we are going to be enabling soon the ability to do acceleration testing, track mapping, cool shit with this. So you keep this in the bike. Right now this is for flashing. You flash it, remove it. But eventually you can keep this in the bike. And you can do...
So everyone's going to have data.
GPS and accelerometer, yeah.
Yeah, but Angela deals a lot with GPS and accelerometers, and that's how isn't that one of the ways that you determined one of the major differences in how Gavin and I ride?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
His heart-shaped plot is very, yeah.
We're going to do a video about that.
Yeah.
It's going to I mean, it's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting educational stuff. But this is cool. So everyone will have a little bit of that, which is so valuable.
And it also,
if you know how to kind of think about it.
And it also taps into the CAN bus system, so you can log all the factory engine control channels, like air fuel and ignition timing and coolant and throttle and
Shifter
speed.
and stuff?
Yeah.
Shifter position?
Yeah, gear selection. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I have to come back in because now I need to ask you questions about this. Because, all right, it's got an ECU connection, so CAN bus connection.
Yes.
It's got a GPS, and it's got an accelerometer.
Yes.
I mean, like, apart from a couple of analog inputs on the unit that we use, like, that's it. So, and we're not using, Eric doesn't have, like, a data display for real time. So it's like, I kind of feel like we could just be using this, right?
The Open Flash tablet?
Yeah, the Open Flash tablet.
Technically, yes,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of software work that needs to go into us to be able to do what you already have. Initially, we'll just have this giving, like, what a Draggy is? The Draggy device? It's like V-Box Draggy.
Oh, huh.
It's like what people buy and they can do 0 to 60 testing, 0 to 100 testing, quarter mile testing.
Okay.
This will do those functions accurately by using accelerometer and GPS. It'll also probably do road dyno and all that kind of stuff very accurately because it can measure elevation changes and everything to adjust for everything.
Okay.
But the difference between that and like the AIM software, the data house, there's a pretty big difference.
I mean,
that you can feed in a crap ton of stuff. Both CAN bus and analog data, right?
Yes.
So that is a more appropriate hub to collect everything for now.
Okay.
Because it's much, why do I have to reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, no,
Right?
totally.
Yeah,
But the thing, well, listen, the AIM, I mean, are we just speaking freely here?
Yeah, of course.
The AIM software is terrible. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
at least in terms of analysis, it's like you feel like you got in a time machine and went back to the 80s.
Yeah, but all racing stuff is like that.
I know. I'm getting that impression now.
Yeah.
But in any case, but we couldn't do without the potentiometers that we use for fork and shock and steering, right?
We wouldn't have analog
You wouldn't have
inputs.
that, yeah. But that's it. Like the rest of it, the vast majority of the analysis that I do is from GPS and accelerometer data and ECU. So I mean,
and technically this could do that all, but am I going to build software to apply for like the 1.1% of people who would use that?
Yeah, no, you don't need to do that. But I've already built
You've
software.
already done it, exactly. Exactly.
So because I don't like the AIM software,
Right.
I just build my own
and
software.
your software's much nicer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So with my own software, I just take an export of the AIM data.
Yeah.
But can I get an export of data from this?
Yeah.
So then the only thing that's missing is a couple of analog inputs, which I guess I just would sync up. Well, I don't know. Yeah. Well, I feel like we should talk about this some more.
Oh, we will.
Okay.
We got the whole winter to do this stuff.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. Yeah. We should talk about like exports and like what the resolution is and those sorts of things.
And your feedback would come in handy when it comes to talking to my engineers about what we need to export data, whether it be CSV file or what.
Yeah. Because I mean, I get it that like half of, or maybe it's more than half of what AIM is really doing is like the onboard real-time data display. And that's cool. But we just don't touch any of that. Yeah. So it's like, there's a bunch of other stuff that I feel like is harder to get at.
There is an advantage to using the AIM. It is industry standard. Meaning that if we ever wanted to show our AIM data to someone else, like a real, not that we're not real, we're real, of course.
We're very real.
Yes, let's say we wanted to go to some Moto America crew chief.
Yeah, okay.
And say, hey, we are having this problem here. What do you think? Well, let's see your AIM data.
Yeah. Really?
Is that
what they do? Let's see your AIM data.
It is every coach, every professional racing coach, every race team uses AIM for the most part.
And they're using the AIM software to do the analysis?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe not like at the highest level. Like certainly not Formula One.
Yeah.
Right. But like we're talking Moto America and like
Interesting.
they use AIM software.
It's exciting. This is exciting.
Yeah.
So that's cool. There's some things maybe you didn't know. Definitely I didn't know.
That's why I said you heard it here first.
Well, I get it. Don't be so aggressive. So it's exciting things. There's some knowledge. There's some horsepower coming. It sounds like that we don't have now, but we're going to get, and safely, right? That's the way to do it, in my opinion, right? I always tell people when I'm teaching about riding, like, don't take big steps. Take little steps.
And that's what I said, and you poo-pooed it. I said we got to take little steps for tuning. We got to make it safe first, fix some problems, and then as we get more data, we can start being more aggressive. Little steps. So you agree with my philosophy. You just didn't want to hear it at the time.
Did I or did I not agree to letting you do the thing?
You cried about it for a while. You said, "Where's my power? Where's my mile an hour? Where's my speed? Where's the?" You're still faster.
Why do you make me sound stupid when
That's what you
say my
sound like.
voice?
That's what you sound like.
Now who's the prejudiced one?
By the way, I've known Gogo for how many years?
You have no idea because you hit your head.
That is true.
No, it's 100% the truth. You don't even remember us meeting, or the dog you had, or where we met, or that you dynoed my
You
butt.
claim we met at a dyno like
See?
15 years
Gone.
ago.
Out.
What?
Doesn't even know it. I have pictures of us together.
15 years
Any
ago.
dog.
That long ago.
I didn't say 15 years.
Or 10 years ago, probably.
Oh, it's more than 10 years ago.
It was when I had
It
a,
was my Gen 1.
and I had a Gen 1 back then. So it's probably like 2015. So about 10
So
years.
don't talk. Well, who's stupid now?
I hurt my head a few times.
So there you go. I hope that this has been helpful, and there's a lot of things coming down the road, which is exciting. And it's wintertime, right? It's almost wintertime, going into wintertime.
Project time.
What a better time to be thinking about the spring.
Agreed.
What are you, box?
A little bit.